Thank you, Brown. Welcome to everyone to today's session. As Brown has mentioned, today's session is also recorded and will be available on our YouTube channel, EBSCO Sub-Saharan Africa. We are also going to mute all the lines, so if you do have questions, please put them in the chat box, as well as any technical issues that you encounter. We also have a prize draw at the end of the session, so please stick around for that if you do have the time. Without any further ado, I'm going to hand over to you, Brown.
Thank you so much. Okay, so shall we get going with the new EBSCO Discovery Service user interface. I'm also going to talk about the new Publication Finder interface, and then go into some of the new really cool tips and tricks within both these interfaces as we go along. Colleen is managing the questions. I won't be able to see the questions, so if you do have a question, please just pop it into the chat, or I think there's like a Q&A. So Colleen will be looking and managing both of these. So please, if you do have a question, pop that in there. If you want to unmute yourself and ask a question, you are more than welcome to do that. Just to reintroduce myself to those of you who don't know who I am, I'm Bronwyn Russman. I am the Director of SaaS Innovation for EBSCO, and SaaS stands for Software as a Service. I'm not sassy, but yeah, so it's a new position for me. I have been in this position since, I think, about March, so it's a really nice position because I get to support my colleagues at EBSCO and you, our customers, on anything that is technology-driven at EBSCO. So it's a little bit daunting at the beginning, but I'm very excited to be in this role and very excited to be able to support you going forward. So let's go into EBSCO Discovery Service. I'm going to take about 10-15 minutes before I actually go into the new UI to talk about some of the basics. And these are screens that you have probably seen before, and I do apologize, but for me they are so fundamental to how a discovery service works, and any discovery service. So we've got to look at this with an open mind, because not all discovery services do the same thing. And if you understand some of the backbones behind a discovery service, you can look at what you have in your institution and really interrogate it and decide whether or not it is the right tool for you. So let's jump into that. So with regards to discovery, and this is something that EBSCO does all the time, we look at our users, we look at the librarians who are our customers, we employ librarians, and we really are listening and learning as we go along, because what we've realized is users have changed. They've definitely changed since I started at EBSCO. When I started, EBSCO Host, and it was only EBSCO Host at that time, was really designed for the librarian. We had a lot of defaults to the advanced search, so your landing page was the advanced search, and now we've realized that, I just want to check, okay. Now we've realized that actually most of the users are students, and they don't really want an advanced search unless they really are moving up that studying ladder towards your postgrad, master's, PhD, whatever it might be. We've also realized that technology has changed, so there's been a lot of change in technologies with authentication, single sign-on, SAML-based systems, and really the behaviors of users have changed. And we've seen that with usage statistics on the EBSCO Mobile App, which I've got a couple of slides at the end of my presentation on, where we are actually noticing there's a huge increase in the usage on the EBSCO Mobile App. So we're realizing that students are actually preferring to use their mobile device over a PC or a laptop. And it is because of the technology and the tools that are available on those devices and the accessibility of those devices to those users. So these are the slides that it's like I'm talking about it again, but really for me this is the most important part of discovery. And the two tiers that I'm going to talk about today are the quality, depth, and breadth of the data being searched, and the sophistication of the search engine doing the searching. When it comes to options for authentication and linking to full text, we have many different options when it comes to this, and you can speak to us and we can really advise and guide you to choosing the tools that work for you. EBSCO is an open organization, so in terms of linking to full text, we're happy to work with different knowledge bases. We can use different link resolvers, and that's really our philosophy, and it's our philosophy across all our different products and across all our different partnerships. So when it comes to authentication, if you want to use Open Athens, we have a very good partnership with the Open Athens team to set this up for you. Intuitiveness and features of the interface, I'm going to go into that interface for you and show you. We do a lot of work with integration and customization. So, for example, if you want to create your own user platform, so if you want to create your own discovery service platform and you're using things like Drupal or one of those platforms, we have bidirectional APIs that can push the EBSCO Discovery Service API into that front end. If you are using Stacks, it's the same thing. If you are, I know with Cersei Dynex, you can use their system, their Blue Cloud discovery system at the front end and have the EBSCO API, the EBSCO Discovery Service API coming in the back and pushing that electronic resources into that space. We've also got a lot of staff, and our staff are very committed when it comes to EBSCO Discovery Service. We have a library services engineer to support you, Didier. We have a trainer, Mandisa, who is so integral to the EBSCO team. We've got a lot of regional sales managers. There's Colleen, there's myself, there's Annika, and we are supported by a huge international team that are really here to support you to make the best out of your user experience when it comes to EBSCO Discovery Service. So let's talk about the data being searched. Okay, so EBSCO's knowledge base is probably one of the largest knowledge bases globally. And one of my colleagues, and he came from a different company, always talks about EBSCO didn't realize what a gold mine our knowledge base was. And we really have realized it over time, but it's actually what powers everything to do with discovery. So we have got more full text searching for your profit publishers, for your university presses, for your scholarly societies. We have got more of these loaded into our knowledge base than any other discovery service provider on the market. And the reason for that is because we've got relationships with these publishers. We've also worked with them for a very long time, and we do not discriminate against their content. So we do not say, oh yes, no, you need to find an EBSCO database over IEEE, for example. We make sure that their content is seen on an even playing field and the most relevant content is driven to the top of your result list. Because at the end of the day, you actually want relevancy over everything else. And full text searching is used for that fundamental completeness. I was in a presentation and the person I was speaking to said, yes, you can find anything, and you really can. You can find anything in this huge amount of information that's in our knowledge bases. But finding the right things takes a lot of skill and takes precision. Now, when you're looking at EBSCO's discovery service, we use our subject indexes to do that. And subject indexes, for me, are the most important part of our discovery service. And I'm going to show you a physical example of this in the new UI. But our subject indexes are really those crux, it's that backbone, it's that map that drives that precision that gives your users the most relevant result list. Because remember, when a user comes in and they search across your discovery service with whatever discovery service it is, if they're not getting the most relevant content at the top of their page, they're going to leave and go somewhere else. And that's not really what we want. So what we say about subject indexes is they are really the authorities or mini discovery services within their own right across different subjects. So you've got PsycInfo for psychology, you've got the MLA for language and literature, and there are a lot of subject indexes around the world. And what we've done is been able to leverage that quality subject indexing in EBSCO Discovery Service to drive that relevancy. And you can see I say this over and over again, but it really is so important. So this is a list of your top subject index providers around the world, and I'm sure you recognize most of them. I'm sure there are subscriptions to some of these subject indexes or these providers within your institution. And if you look at subject indexes, what do they do when they provide their metadata to discovery services? And most subject index providers do not actually provide their metadata to a discovery service. But EBSCO, they do. And this is a really nice quote, and this quote has been around for a long time. But PsycInfo is an expensive product. I know a lot of customers in South Africa and around the world are subscribing to PsycInfo, and it's a cost item. So what this person, Linda Bibe, she retired, would say about PsycInfo and EBSCO Discovery Service is what we are doing is we are maintaining the integrity of the index, and we're using that to drive that precision. So we're not substituting it by doing full text searching. Realm is the same, so this is for any of the Realm products. If you are subscribing to Realm products, they are not available in any other discovery service except for EBSCO Discovery Service. Atla is exactly the same as well. So if you're subscribing to New Testament abstract, Old Testament abstract, Atlas religious database with Atlas serials, it is not available. This one's an interesting one, MLA. So MLA was one of the subject index providers that provided their index across different discovery services. And I think it was about 3-4 years ago, they actually made a U-turn on that decision, and they decided to only leverage their content or only provide their metadata to EBSCO for the inclusion in EBSCO Discovery Service. And what they realized was because of the way we use those subject indexes, it's true to the subject index, okay? So it keeps that integrity. It was a philosophical decision, like they say here, not a financial one. So it was a very big change and a very big swing from the MLA. It wasn't an EBSCO decision, it was their decision. So there are a couple of subject indexes that aren't available in any discovery service, and this is really a choice on the provider. It's the nature of the game. And then if you look at that very long list, these are subject indexes that are unique to EBSCO. And then if you add the ones that are happy to work with other discovery services like EconLit, like GRF, you can see that we have this huge amount of content coming into EBSCO Discovery Service supporting that precision of that result list. So what is the metadata that we value? And here you can see just very quickly that metadata that EBSCO loads into the knowledge base to really drive that precision. And you can see in the next couple of slides the markers that we use when we're driving that precision. Okay. So this is how we determine your relevancy ranking. So this is how we are making sure that across that huge knowledge base, across all those subject indexes, we are getting to the right content. And the very first priority, and the priority that really makes up the biggest weighting, is the match on subject headings from controlled vocabularies. Now, what that means is we are taking those subject indexes that have subject headings, and we are matching them to what search is being used when you initiate your original search. So we're using that to drive that precision, because remember, those subject headings are giving you really telling you about that search article, or about that article, and telling you that this is the most relevant article based on your search. We then look at the match on article titles. So we look at where was that keyword used in the article title. Then we look at the author supplied keywords. So what are the keywords that the author is supplying that are matching to that original search keyword? Then we look at the match on the keywords within the abstract, and very last, do we look at the keywords within full text. And really, we are doing this completely differently to other discovery providers. They are looking at the keywords within the full text. So they are going from 5, and we are starting at 1. So we're using those subject indexes to drive that precision. We also look at exact matches and density to really further drive that precision. We then realized that this was not enough, and we did a little bit more work. So we looked at all things being the same for two articles, which one is more recent? 2020 versus 2022, and your 2022 article will come up at the top of your result list. Same for document type. We are not going to push your user towards book reviews or news articles if you are looking for an academic result list, if you want academic content coming in. Unless, of course, you search specifically for news or book reviews. Then we'll give that to you and we'll sort it by relevance. But really, we are going to push articles over documents like news and book reviews. Document length is also something we considered. So longer versus shorter, and how does that affect your result list? And then we took it a little bit further because we realized, oh, you know what, again, that is not enough. So what we decided here is to do what we call enhanced subject precision. And really what that means is, it sounds a little bit up there, but really what it means is we took subject indexes across subject indexes and we mapped two subject indexes. So I've got a very nice example in the next slide that really tells you what this is about. So if we did a search for learning aids, so I'm a student, I'm Bronwyn, I'm going into EBSCO Discovery Service and I'm going to do a search for learning aids. If you had to search for that and this enhanced subject precision was not done, you would not find information from ERIC. You would not find information from MLA, because in ERIC and MLA, learning aids is seen as instructional materials. So what we've realized is those terms have they're the same, so we've had to map across those subject indexes. The same with GRF, the same with site info from the APA, and if you go through that list. So what we've done is we've said, okay, so we've taken these indexes and we've mapped them to like-for-like terms in those indexes. And what that does for your user is that it gives them a far more complete, rounded, and robust result list coming from a lot of different areas. And then they can go and filter and filter out what they don't want. So I've got about 4 slides before I go into we did something more about the things that I would like you to just take a look at when doing searching. And this is across all discovery services. So here we've did a search for Mars radiation monitoring methods. And some of the things that are so important is looking at what is actually coming up in your result list. So here you can see that Mars is in the title. You can see Mars radiation monitoring methods is in the subject headings. I've got lots of little pop-ups and they don't seem to be coming up. You can see, okay, this screenshot was taken a little while ago, but I have a live example of this about currency, about your subject headings, relevance, currency is so important. So we then did a little bit more work. Oops, I went through. And we realized that natural language searching was actually something that was really important. So for me, as a student, as a user, I am not the expert in psychology, for example. I am not the expert in medicine. I don't know all the medical terms. I studied a very long time ago, so I don't even know the marketing terms. But really, we have a natural language. We speak in a certain way. And what we realized is that users are the same. So what we need to do is we need to match that natural language to what's happening in our subject indexes to what's happening in terms of relevance. So here you can see the example. So this is an example for drone. So I know it is drone. And like the IEEE calls it an unmanned aerial vehicle, for example. So really what it's doing is saying, okay, so across how I see it versus how other providers see it, how do we match that up? And this is really driving that kind of semantic search environment for your users. So it really is pushing them into a far more academic space without them having that academic background in this example. Okay, so have you got your coffee or your tea? I really like tea. I finished my tea. So I'm going to stop sharing at the moment. Maybe if I just escape out of this and jump into there. Can everybody see my screen? Can you all see University of Georgia?
Yep, absolutely.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Okay. And I see Colleen is answering questions. Thank you very much, Colleen. Okay. So here we've got the University of Georgia. They were very kindly, gave us demo rights to their system. So we've set it up for the University of Georgia. We've used some of their content in our knowledge base and the EBSCO knowledge base to really drive our discovery. And you can see from where it was, it's a lot cleaner. So I wanted to open up this. And the reason for the cleanness of the landing page of EBSCO Discovery Service is about accessibility. And this is across all our platforms because we are pushing towards inclusion. You don't want to exclude anybody that comes in with perhaps they are visually impaired, whatever it might be. So it's all about accessibility, about inclusion. And I just wanted to show you this because we have a lot of features that we make available. We have a lot of statements, so across EBSCO Host, eBooks, EBSCO Mobile, because they are slightly different interfaces, and you can really go in here and take a look at what our accessibility statement is. So if I go back to my landing page, what I want to show you is, if you look at the left-hand side of the screen, we've got a couple of different tools here. There's your overview, your project, your saved items, and I'm going to go into all of these as we go through our demonstration. We've also got a couple of research tools over here, so we're going to go into our publication search, our concept map, which I love, and then your supplemental resources. And then you can also load additional resources. So if you wanted to jump into a specific database, you can change this. This could be anything you want. We've put these in as Academic Search Ultimate, Business Source Ultimate, but it could be anything you want sitting in here. Okay. So if you have a look at the actual bar in the middle, I wanted to show you one more thing. Over here, there's a little person icon. I signed in. I am Annika today. We signed in using Open Athens because EBSCO sits on Open Athens. If you're using any other provider, we can still set up your Open Athens. We can also do the SSO, depending on what systems you have in place. So if you are interested, just chat to us and we'll be able to help you with that. If we look at the middle of the screen, you can see over here you've got your search box. Under your search box, you've got your full text online. You can limit it to full text online. You can limit it to available in my library. You can see we've got that peer review limiter, so straight from the get-go you can jump into peer review. And then you've got a time limiter. So what kind of time frame do you want your results to come from? Included in this kind of landing page, we've also got that advanced search, and we've changed this up a little bit. And I think this is really nice because you're not actually having to open up a new page to do your advanced search. It just does a pop-up within that screen. So I've got 3 searches for us today, but I just want to jump into the first one because that's where I come from, so I know I'm in a safe space. But here you can see what we've done is we've added our popular searches. So you've got marketing, marketing strategy, marketing mix, whatever they might be. And if we scroll down, we've got publications. So you could jump into a specific publication from this original search bar. So if I click search, what it's going to do is going to look through everything that is EDS, and it's going to pop up a results list. You can see over here, it's sorted by relevance. I could do date newest, date oldest, depending on what I want to do. You can see my filters are here. Remember, I had one filter set on, which is available in my library collection. I could limit it to these filters if I wanted to. And these are all very much the same as what we had in classic EBSCO Discovery Service. What I do want to say here, which I really like, is you can change the name of any of these filters. So if you don't want it to be content provider, you want it to be called databases, because that's what it is, you can actually do that now. So there's a lot of these kind of really easy things that have been set up to make it easier for you and to customize it for you. So before I go into the filters, what I want to show you in the results list is we've got 2 what we call placards or applications coming into EBSCO Discovery Service. And if you remember in classic UI, you used to have a full placard across the screen, and we really couldn't accommodate 2. And now we can accommodate 2. If you've got LibGuides, they can come in here. If you did a search for example, library hours, you can have that placard built in over here. And if you have a look on the left-hand side, this is that publication placard. So this is the ability to really jump in and search across the publications that you have loaded into your knowledge base, which comes from your holdings and link management in EBSCO admin. We also have what we call this research starter. This is really nice. We've had it for a while. And this is really that it's academic, so it can be cited, overview of that particular concept. So this is really nice for really your undergrad students coming in, or if you really just want to get a definition or an overview of a concept. These come from encyclopedias, so they're not Wikipedia. We're not leveraging Wikipedia. We're leveraging this academic content to give your users just a little bit more. They don't have to go out to a third-party website. Okay, so if we look at this result list, if I look at my first result, this is an ebook. You can see this is the database that it's coming from. I can click on this. I can go into that database. You can see it was published in 2022, so you've got that currency. And you can also see within the subjects, the marketing term is being used. Okay, marketing is quite broad. I'm going to go into something a little bit more comprehensive shortly. If I click on Access Now, the ebook, it will take you into the new viewer for ebooks. And I really like this because, again, it pushes that cleanness. It's very white. It's very, there's not a lot of clutter on the page for your user. So here you can see I'm loading my ebook. The table of contents are listed in there. I can jump to any part of that book. I can download that chapter. So remember, within ebooks, you can download at a chapter level. I can like it, I can cite it, I can share it, I can print, and whatever I'd like to do, I can search within that ebook. If I go back to my result list, let's just take a moment and go back to that ebook. If I scroll a little bit further down, you'll see over here, I then have the option for 2 different types of full text. So here I've got my EPUB or my PDF. And remember, that comes from the publisher, so it really depends on what the publisher is happy to share with EBSCO when it comes to an ebook. If I'd take a little look at this kind of like an ellipsis, you can see that there are a couple of things that I have here. So I can download the metadata, I can share, I can add to a project, and I can cite. I can also bookmark it, so save it for later. And if I open the site, it will give me those citation standards that you, I'm sure, are used to within EBSCO, and we can also export it. So whatever system you are using, you can actually export it to that system from within EBSCO. And you don't actually have to go into the detail record or in the full text to do this. It's really just on that result list. I'm going to add it to a project. So here I'm adding it to a project. I don't have any projects yet, so now I'm going to give it a name. So I'm going to call it EDS Coffee Break. Okay, so let's pretend I'm doing a project. I could have a due date. I could say, my project due from then, and I can actually say, oh, yeah, it's all about that. And then I create. So now I've got a project, and this particular resource has been added to my project. You'll also see I can share it. So you can share it using any of these kind of tools like Google Drive, Google Classroom, OneDrive, which is new, or you can create that link, which you can copy and paste and share. What I can also say about the new EDS user interface, and I really, really like this, is remember in Classic, in EBSCO Host, and I remember starting at EBSCO and Colleen saying to customers in a training, please don't use this URL in the browser bar. And it's been like that for a very long time. You can now use the URL in the browser bar, so you can copy and paste this and share it with your users if you would like to as well. And I really like that because it really points to ease of access across the board. You can also email it off to people if you wanted to. Okay, I'm going to go back to the top, and now I'm going to filter to peer review. So if I jump into peer review, we've got this really nice little peer review kind kind of icon, and you'll see that next to each result in your result list. So here you can see there's my peer review icon. We do give your users the words as well, just in case. We give you the link to that database, we give you those subject headings, and those tools are consistent. So if I wanted to add it to a project, there's my project, and I can add now. I can also bookmark it if I wanted to, and really work within that particular result. You'll also see I've got an Access Now button. So from here I can access the online full text or the PDF full text. And this is what we call, it's either Smart Linking or Smart Linking Plus, depending on where the content is coming from. But Smart Linking Plus is between different databases. Smart Linking is between different databases. Smart Linking Plus will link you to the full text from a publisher's platform that we have the full text within our knowledge base. And we do have a lot of publishers that are happy to provide that to us. So what it does for your users is says, cool, you can stay within EDS and link to that full text, although we are essentially linking to that publisher's site. If you see a little bit further down, we've got this link over here, so it says Access Now, and that's using our link resolver. So that's when we've got the content indexed and abstracted, we know where it comes from, and we'll link out to that publisher's website, okay, and that's using the link resolver. So you can also jump into the view details, and really depending on what you want to do. I want to do another search, so I'm just going to go back to general search and start again. And this search is an important search. Okay, so I'm doing a search for crying cat syndrome. Ooh, I can't spell. It's always fun when you're using somebody else's laptop here. So here you can see it's crying cat syndrome that I typed in. The technical name, and I'm not going to try and pretend to pronounce that because I'm not French. So you can see I've got my research data on it. It comes from Salem Press Encyclopedia of Health from 2019. But the one thing I really wanted to just point out here is you look at your first result. It's specifically about crying cat syndrome in French. You can see that the name is being used here. You can see that my subjects are being used. And now we can see why, because we're leveraging PsycInfo for this. If you, and I'm going to say this quite, I'm just going to be quite straightforward. If you have PsycInfo, and there are a number of different indexes, remember I showed you those indexes, they are not being searched in your discovery service if you're not using EBSCO Discovery Service. And this is a fact, it's always been a fact, so this is really something to consider. Okay, the next search that I want to do is for Stockholm Syndrome. There's actually a very interesting series on Stockholm Syndrome, on the man who developed, who came up with the concept of Stockholm Syndrome. My husband's watching it. I watched for about half an hour, but it was quite interesting. But here you can see we've got our research data again, and this is coming from CINAHL. So again, CINAHL is not in any other database or any other discovery service. And what is very interesting about this is we are seeing Stockholm Syndrome as a fixed term. Okay, we're not suddenly telling you about the place Stockholm. We're not suddenly pulling in results that are not relevant to the user. Another great search that demonstrates this is Great Danes, about the dogs, and often you get information about Denmark, and you don't really want that. So within EBSCO Discovery Service, we make sure that your user is not going to experience that. They're not going to get content about dogs when they do a search for Great Danes. So this is very important. It's very important for you to look at this information, look at where this information is coming from. You can see here, again, it's about currency, so this is from December 2021. It's about relevancy, and like I showed you in the crying cat syndrome example, it's about mapping those search terms across those subject indexes, and again, to enhance subject precision. The next thing that I want to show you is the concept map, and like I said, I love the concept map because for me, it's a visual search. We give your users this little pop-up, and it really just explains what the concept map is, but I'm going to close that. And here you can see it's a visual search. So I'm going to do another search because I'm going to keep it safe for me, okay? You'll see when I do my search, it asks me, what do I want to search within? Do I want to search within economics as a branch of social science, behavioral economics, Buddhist economics, business economics, classical economics, depending on what you want. So really what it's doing here is saying to your users, well, start thinking about what it is that, or what results you actually want at the end of the day. So I'm just going to do a search for economics. You can see it gives you this nice kind of diagram in the middle. I can look at it as a grid view if I wanted to. I can scroll in, I can scroll out. I can have a look at economics, so it gives me a little bit of information. And over here, I can add it to the search. So now you can see economics is added to the search. From there, I can say, okay, so what is it about economics that I am interested in? So perhaps it's macroeconomics. So what is macroeconomics? It's a branch of economics that studies the overall working of a national economy and has a kind relationship. So economics has kind relationship to macroeconomics. So essentially what we're saying here is they are related to one another. I can then add it to my search, and you can see here I've got the Boolean operator and. I can change it to the Boolean operator or if I wanted to. Not is obviously not included because I'm not really jumping around, I'm jumping into specific concept. From there, I can say, okay, well, let me go and explore macroeconomics and see what is it about macroeconomics that I'm interested. So now it's saying, okay, macroeconomics is in the middle. Oh, there's a model about macroeconomics. Let's see what that is about. It's part of macroeconomics. Let's add it to the search. And from there, you can just do a preview of your results. And it's going to say, okay, there's still 875,000 results. And if you're happy with that, you can jump in to see the full results. So this is really nice. I really like it because what it does is it gives you that visual experience of what's happening in your result list. It gives your users a different way of engaging with the content. And again, it's about EBSCO having spent time with our users and really understanding that not all users like this. And I am one of those users that really like this. And if I was studying, I would use this. If we go back to my EBSCO Discovery Service, I want to show you the publication finder. So Publication Finder is the replacement for EBSCO A to Z, which happened quite a couple of years ago. And so we went from EBSCO A to Z to Publication Finder, and then now we've done an overhaul of the new user interface. And we've done a couple of different things within this interface that I think are really nice, and I know that a lot of customers are really happy with some of these changes. The first one is this alphanumeric browse in the middle. Okay, so this A to Z browse. This was in EBSCO A to Z, and for some reason it was taken away. And then we realized, actually, no, this is pretty important, and it's come back. You'll see over here every different alphanumeric option is not grayed out. But if you look at the grayed out one, that means that I do not have a journal starting with those two letters. So I do not have any journals in my knowledge base that start with XG, for example. Okay. I also have the ability to limit my search to journals only or books only, depending on what I want to do. I'm going to go back to all. I can also jump into browsing databases or browsing subjects, and I'm going to come to that source. Oh, I've got no words. I'm going to come to that shortly. Within your search, you can also specify what you're searching for. So am I searching for a specific subject, ISBN, ISSN, so we do include ebooks in here, or publisher. So depending on what you want. So I'm going to do a search for science. Oh, what have you done? Nope, it's done something else interesting for me. Let's go back. Okay, let's try that again. Okay, so you can see all the different options for science comes up. I'm looking for science, the journal. It's a peer-reviewed journal. So here you can see my peer-reviewed limited coming in from, it's the same within EBSCO Discovery Service. You can see the databases that it's included in. So here you can see within Academic Search Ultimate, we've got it from 1990 to present. It looks like there's no embargo on it. It's in full text, so that's great. So as a user, I can jump into that and I can go and jump into that particular journal within that native database. You can see what the journal is about. You can see the ISSN, the subject, whatever it might be within that particular option, and then you can go in and search. You also have the option to add filters. So here you can say, okay, so what subject areas am I looking in? You can see how many titles per subject area. You can see what resources it's coming from in terms of science, so books, journals, proceedings, book series, whatever it might be. You can see what databases it's coming from. So it really gives your user a little bit more comprehensive search experience when it comes to publication browsing. You can also browse your databases. So here we can load all your different databases, and it kind of gives your users an A to Z listing of your databases. This is completely customizable according to your needs. If I click on Show More, it gives me all the databases that start with A. So what we're doing here is really keeping it quite clean and simple for your users. If I click on Browse Subjects, you can set this up in 3 different ways in terms of subject browsing. You can set it up for a general subject browse. You can set it up for a medical subject browse, or your Library of Congress subject browse. So whichever one you would like to pick, we ask you, and then we set that up for you. And here you can see, okay, within Fine Arts, I've got 19,961 publications. I can jump into that. It's going to load that full result list. I can use my filters to say, okay, I only want peer-reviewed journals, and actually within Fine Arts, I want to look at particular journals, whatever it might be, okay? So really what we're doing is, again, giving your users a really nice space to interrogate what you have included in your library's knowledge base for your users. I want to make sure that I am not missing anything.
Ronan, sorry, but before you go on, we do have a question from Stephen Fasaki. I do like the new journal interface, but I can't export any results, e.g. if I want data for a course accreditation.
Yes, that isn't. I've been asked this question, and I know I had an answer, and I can't remember the answer. Stephen, I'm going to find out for you, and I'll come back to you. What I'll do is I'll share it when we, because I'm sure other people will want to know this too. I know that you can do it in another tool called Panorama, but that comes with Folio. But let me find out about it within Publication Finder, because I know in EBSCO Discovery Service you are able to export results. So let me find out and I'll come back to you. But that's a great question. Thank you. Are there any other questions?
Well, nothing in the chat at this stage that hasn't been answered.
Okay, thank you. So I think I'm pretty much coming to the end of my session. I don't know if, I wanted to show you your dashboard. You see, I get a little bit distracted. Okay, so I've showed you the general search. I've showed you the publication search. I've showed you the concept map. We also have this tool called supplemental resources. And this really loads any other resources where you actually want your users to go to that native platform. So, for example, if you have a news platform like PressReader, if you had an art images database like Smart Image Database, if you had very much a database where the platform is actually what you are looking for with that database, like your reference centers, you can actually load them within what we call the supplemental resources. Here you can see I've got my most recent search, and this came from my concept map. I can send that search to a particular resource. So basically, it's like including that search in that URL that's being pushed out to the end platform. You can also look at the different platforms that we've got listed here. So you can see there's ProQuest historical newspapers, Overdrive ebooks, Dynamed, which is a point of care resource, and your users can really just jump out to that platform. So that's really nice and easy. If I go into my dashboard, I have an overview. You can see today I am Annika because I logged in using her credentials. You can see that I have a project. You can see the due date of my project. I can edit the project. I can delete the project. I can add a new project. These are my saved items. I can go in and see all of them. You can see all my recent searches. You can see all the items that I've viewed recently. And over here, we have this very interesting thing called holds and checkouts. Now, holds and checkouts within the new EDS UI really supports two functions for your users. The first function is if you have checked out or placed a hold on an EBSCO ebook. And the second function goes to what I spoke about yesterday when it comes to Folio. It includes all that patron functionality. So as Bronwyn, I am a user. This particular instance has got Folio as a library system. I've got a hold for a physical book that's sitting in a specific location, or I have put in a request for an item. All of that will be sitting over here. I think you can also see if I've got fines that are due. So if I owe the library money because I've been naughty, you'll be able to see all this information coming in here. Excuse me. So really what it's doing is it's giving your users kind of a single space to engage with everything that is the library. So your print and your electronic resources. So really pulling it into something that's very user-friendly, very clean, very accessible, and easy to get going. We can also translate it into different languages if you want. We've got some predefined languages. If you're sitting somewhere else and you want to search in Spanish, for example, or French, we can do that. But really the language of business that I've found in our region is English. So I never seen anybody translate this. But that's really just something that's here for you. Last thing before we kind of close up, you'll see on the bottom right-hand corner, we've got this little kind of icon. That's that chat with a librarian icon. We can connect to your chat services. We need to obviously chat to you and see what services you have, but you can build that into the new EBSCO Discovery Service interface. So I want to jump back. Can you see my PowerPoint presentation? Do I have a thumbs up? Okay, good, thank you. So the last couple of slides, just in closing, I spoke very briefly about the EBSCO Mobile App. This is available now. I think we do default it on for customers. We just need to just check that your Find My Organization is set up correctly. So if you want the EBSCO Mobile App, please just give us a shout and we can help you with that. It's available now. It leverages your phone's kind of tools, so the voice-to-text, facial recognition. It can save to your iCloud, your OneDrive, whatever it is that you're using on your phone. And really, this is what it looks like. So here you've got your Find Your Institution. So here we've searched for Boston. It's got that dynamic content landing page. So what it does is because we have the single sign-on working, we can look at your recently viewed items. You can jump into popular content. You can discover different subject areas that are based on recent searches. It's also personalized, so you can like those items. And what's really, really nice about this is if I'm using my mobile device and I like things on my mobile device, if I jump into the browser, EBSCO Discovery Service, there's a sync between those two different devices. So it recognizes Bronwyn in a mobile app, and it recognizes Bronwyn using my current new EBSCO Discovery Service user interface. So it does that for you. You can also see here, you can go into recent searches, or you can type in a new search term. Our filters are consistent. Remember, I spoke about that peer-reviewed icon. It's consistent across the app and the browser interface. and then you can jump into your full text access from there if you wanted to on your mobile device. Your ebooks are also available in the new mobile app, so you can see if it's available, so you can see how many copies are available. You can choose your checkout length, so if it's 1 day to whatever the institution maximum is, and then you can actually just go into that full text. What is really nice, and this is a big improvement, is that you do not need an Adobe ID anymore, and this is in your browser. I think this is in your browser as well. You do not need your Adobe ID, so you can just download that full text, and you don't need an additional login or an additional sign-in. These are my last 3 slides, and I think I am pretty much...
Can I just make a comment? Sorry, Bronwyn.
Yes.
And then there's a question from Stephen that we can answer straight away.
I see that.
So I believe that we are upgrading the EBSCO mobile app, and I only heard about this during the meeting, so you may not know. We're upgrading the EBSCO mobile app, and so Google has removed the ability...
It's Android, yeah.
It's not in the Play Store right now. It'll return, they say, by early next week. So I would say if you haven't got the mobile app enabled, don't try and do it today, because you're going to be frustrated when you don't find it on the Google Play Store. So rather wait until early next week and then do that. If you're going to do a huge promotion with your students, please don't do it this week, do it next week. Or your users. Yeah. I mean, I'm saying students, but the mobile app is really lovely for everybody. Really, really. Yeah. Anyway, okay, thanks. Sorry. And then there was a question in the chat from Stephen. Will the new interface be coming automatically to existing EDS users, or do we have to request it?
So what we have done is we haven't pushed it onto customers. So at this point, it is at a request. So if you would like it, we can set it up for you. What we do is we run Classic and the new in parallel with each other, just to make sure that you're happy. Because once you're happy, we then turn off the Classic and we only run with a new UI. So we can do it for you on request. So if you want it, please just give us a shout and we will do it for you. We do rely on your original settings. So it's really actually a very, very easy transfer from Classic to new UI. Didier helps us with that. And I think it takes Didier about 5 minutes to do it. And then obviously you just need to test it and work it on your side and make sure it's up and running.
Perfect, thank you. I'm going to let you carry on then.
Okay, according to my watch, we're at 25 minutes past. So one thing I do want to also point out is open access. So open access is so important, and it's becoming more and more important as we kind of move along. And one thing that EBSCO has done, and EBSCO has always actually done, but we're becoming better and better at it, is about creating that exposure to your open access research. And one of the things that we do is it's about biases. So we do not have any biases. Remember, the only bias that I did point out was kind of journals versus books. There's no bias towards specific content, okay? So we're not going to bias a very behind a paywall platform versus an open access content platform if those relevancy markers are the same. We are making sure that we are presenting the most relevant results to your users, and it doesn't matter where it comes from. EBSCO does a huge amount of work to also ensure that our open access content in both our databases and in our discovery service is completely what I like to call clean. So it's not any kind of fake open access, it's not corrupt open access. And I actually had a comment from a librarian a couple of years ago where she said to me, if ever I want to go in and check if a journal is not the right journal, I use the EBSCO host databases, because if it is not included there, then I know. So that was quite nice. It was quite nice to know that it's kind of theory in practice. This is a quote, and I hope you've seen this before, but really it's about the Directory of Open Access Journals. EBSCO Discovery Service really pushes more users to the DOAJ than any other discovery service on the market. And really that's because their content is good. They're doing that work, they're making that content accessible, and we are supporting that. We also give them financial donations every year to keep them going, because we do believe in keeping these kind of tools out there, keeping them going, and really working with them for the betterment of our customers and your users. So I have my ad break. I think if you were in the folio session yesterday, there were lots of ad breaks. But next week we're going to talk about Panorama. It's with Phil the Panorama Man. He is going to talk about Panorama, and really that's about analytics, taking your statistics to analytics to actually insights that you can do stuff with, so actionable insights. My very last slide for the day is, are there any other questions? And really I would like to say thank you to everybody for joining me today. It really was such a pleasure. I had a bit of a rocky start this morning where my computer said no and logged me out of absolutely every application that I could think of, and I couldn't get into anything, and I couldn't change my password. So thank you to Annika for lending me her laptop and talking some calmness into my brain. So it was very good to be here this morning, and thank you to everybody for joining me. Are there any questions? So I see there is a question from Antonio. So my school once had a free trial access. There was no content for mathematics departments. That's why we couldn't subscribe. So remember, with EBSCO Discovery Service, it's about a user search platform. So the content is really dependent on the content that you subscribe to. So we need to talk to you about that. So I think Dean will reach out to you and talk to you about that. So it's about your content you subscribe. And mathematics is one of those interesting subject areas where you want to be able to access like MathSciNet, and those are actually paid for services, but we can speak to you about that. Stephen?
Yeah, she had a previous question about content for schools between, I think, grade 7 to 12 curriculum, especially mathematics. So I think Antonia Brunman is totally correct. Dean can get in touch with you after this and really talk about the content that is available for schools and the solutions that we can provide. And as Brunman said, mathematics is a difficult one. So,
yeah.
Good morning.
Morning, Antonia.
Yeah. When I reached out to your South Africa representative and I told her the nature of our curriculum, and before she gave us access to the 1-month free trial. So the teachers, I gave access to the teachers and the students.
Okay.
So the complaint came from the mathematics department that there are no content for maths department. And secondly, the content we had access to was more for research purpose, especially for higher institutions, not really narrowing down to grade 7 to 6. We don't mind if the content is more for the grade 11 to 12, because those ones are preparing to enter higher institutions. So that's just in our case, that was the issue. There were other content for other departments, but specifically for maths, there was no content. So I hope you guys can work on that aspect. Thank you.
okay,
Thank you,
perfect.
Antonia. Yes. Dean will reach out to you. We do have maths content. He will speak to you and just really see what your and really where we can help you. So I think we do have your email address, and I think we might have your telephone number from the registration. So either Dean or Lebo will get in touch with you shortly. Pleasure. There was will there be a link to the recording? Yes, we will send a link to the recording. And then I don't know if I've missed any questions. So Stephen's also asking about Think Mendeley as well. So we are able to integrate Mendeley, so we can create that connection. So we can do that at the moment. I don't know if it will replace Mendeley EDS, but hey, who knows where development and change takes us. We've answered the automatic. I think Colleen has answered everything else. So we are bang on past. I don't know if there are any other questions. No, okay.
Nothing coming up, so.
Okay, so here are my contact details again. Just to remind you, I'm Bronwyn Russman, brusman@ebsco.com, or brasnan@ebsco.com, and there's my cell phone number if you want to get in touch. More than welcome to come do a presentation on EDS for you in your institution and really look at what you have. We can talk about Folio, Open Athens, Panorama. So thank you for joining us today, and I hope you have a lovely Thursday. Thank you.
I think we've got to do a prize now. Or,
yes, of course.
There's a prize.
Yes.
So don't go yet. And also just to mention, if you're outside of South Africa, obviously that cell phone number would have a +27 and you would drop the 0 in the beginning. So,
yes.
So I don't know who's doing the wheel spin today. Is it Annika?
It's Thembelihle.
Okay, Thembelihle, I think we're ready for you to do a wheel spin.
Okay, Bronwyn, please stop sharing. Thank you. I'm going to share my screen shortly. Okay, please let me know if you can see.
Yes, it's spinning.
Okay, I'm going to spin. As Annika would say, today I get to do the fun part. So yeah, today's prize is a Take-A-Lot voucher and an ebook subscription for 6 months. So I'm going to go ahead and spin. Good luck.
Who's going to win today?
Wow, congratulations to Amin. We are going to reach out to you regarding your prize. Yes, that brings us to the end of the session.
Congratulations, and thank you everybody for joining us. I think it was an amazing session this morning. As Bronwyn said, stay tuned for next week's Panorama Man.
Oh, the Panorama Man. Shame, it's going to become a trend. I really shouldn't do that.
There are worse things you could be known for.
Have a good day, everybody.
We used to have the Plum Man.
We did.
Anyway.
Mike, the Plum Man.
Have a lovely day. Thank you, everybody, for joining us.
Thank you. Bye.